Okay, folks, I think we will get started. It's a little bit after 2, and I'm Ruth Caldwell. I'm the current president of the SaddleBrooke Hiking Club. I want to welcome you and tell you a little bit about what we're going to do. We really hope we can inform and entertain you with a lot of information, both about hiking in our desert surrounds, as well as about the hiking club. And basically what it boils down to is seniors leading seniors into a hostile environment.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? That's right. So we try to prepare you ahead of time. We'll also explain all that SaddleBrooke Hiking Club has to offer and how to access everything. So we'll get started with the presentation. That's true. In reverse, you can ask my husband about that. He says I am definitely a hikeaholic. And then this is what we have seen. As Tim pointed out a little bit ago to me, this picture was actually taken by one of our guides in Sabino Canyon. And he said, "Do you mind if I take your picture?" And these two bros said, "Not at all." and can you look and see what's wrong here? Oh, everything, right? He has a little bitty bottle of water and flip-flops, you know, nothing on the hat, nothing on the head, no sunglasses. They're gonna burn and stub their toes. All right, during this is a very informal presentation. If you have any questions, wave your hand. The speaker will stop and answer it for you. A couple of caveats. We are not professional guides. We are experienced hikers, and we're not trainers, but we are very friendly, most of us. In a nutshell, you join the club. It's very expensive, $10 a year. And I had one club member come up and said, "Well, that's great. You get 2 free chicken dinners for that," because the club provides the chicken at our 2 picnics a year. You will choose hikes from our brand new SaddleBrooke Hiking Club website. And this is a work in progress, so this is the first time you've been able to pick your hikes and sign up for your hikes off of an online calendar. So please bear with us while we go through all that processes. But in the long run, it's going to be absolutely great. Makes it so easy. So once you do sign up for a hike, you'll get a confirmation email, and then the next thing you'll need to do is show up about 10 minutes before the departure time. So we meet at the Mountain View parking lot directly across from the ballroom closest to the street. And that's where all hikes meet, and then we usually carpool to a trailhead. We do have you sign in, a roster and liability waiver. That way we know everybody on the hike is actually at the parking lot. And then we ask for a donation for the driver, and that amount is figured with a formula, and it's on the description of the hike. At the end of the hike, when you get back to the Mountain View parking lot, is when you would pay the donation. Oh, and look who's up next. So I would like to present Tim Butler, who's going to do the next portion of this talk. Tim is the former chief guide and a former president of the club, and a very, very popular guide.
Thank you.
Yeah, you play with your computer.
I know. Welcome, everybody. Sure glad to see you. You know, we're all really lucky to live in this wonderful place and be able to hike in this area, this beautiful part of southern Arizona. We have such a beautiful Sonoran Desert and wonderful Sky Island mountain ranges to play around in. It's truly a treat to live here and to be out playing around in this country. But there is a downside, and that is that the environment out there can be kind of harsh. So we have to be prepared. We have to have some knowledge, and we have to make preparation to do to enjoy the country that we hike around in, to enjoy it safely. So I'm going to get right to what I call the full disclosure slide about hiking in the desert. It's a different climate than many of you are used to. It's very dry most of the year, except for the monsoon deluges that we occasionally get. When you get caught in one up on Mount Lemmon, that's not a pleasant thing, and I would call that a kind of a tough environment all in and of itself. Exposure, we have a lot of open country in this desert area here. Not a lot of big forest canopies, not a lot of shade. Temperature can be warm even in the wintertime. I mean, we had some 70-degree days a few days ago. It was just glorious. But if you're out on a serious, strenuous hike, that can be, warm enough. Elevation, we have a lot of up and down in this country. There's not a lot of really flat hiking in this area. Also, especially in the summertime, when we move up the mountain to get out of the heat, we're hiking at 7,000 to 9,000 feet. So there is a significant elevation component to your hikes up that high. Our terrain is sometimes not too friendly. We have thorny bushes. We have lots of rocky trails. They can be a little bit uneven. Hydration is critically important here in this dry climate. You can lose moisture even on a cool winter day. You can lose a lot of moisture just by breathing hard, breathing that dry air in and out. So your guides will pester you every 10, 15 minutes to take a drink of water. Replacing electrolytes is critical, especially on the longer hikes. And yes, we do have some critters out there that are kind of interesting. We have snakes. We have three or four different varieties or species of rattlesnake that we will occasionally see on the trail. And we have other critters that we have to pay attention to. Sometimes it's really a treat, actually, to see them if you don't try to make them mad. Gila monsters are a really good example of that. Okay, so you're maybe thinking, why would we want to do this? The answer is, I gave you all the bad stuff, but this is just a fabulous place to hike. Right here in our backyard. This is Catalina State Park, one of the popular trails there, taken, I think, in late March. Beautiful country. And this is the beauty that we have in the Sonoran Desert. A saguaro forest in mid-April with ocotillo starting to bloom. It's great beauty here. So, hopefully we will have you interested in joining us for hikes. Here's how we would like to recommend that you get started with us in the hiking club. Start with the fitness walks, which we offer every day. I will talk about them in the next slide. And also look on the hike calendar and start with the easiest hikes that we offer, our D hikes and C hikes. I'll explain the rating system in a couple of slides, but get started, easily. Read the hike description when you look at the hike listing. We spent a lot of time trying to put together a description that gives you enough information to decide whether that hike is appropriate for you or not. It has information like the distance of the hike, the terrain, any special features, things that you might see of interest during the hike, any special challenges that might be on that hike. Ask the guide questions. If you have any questions, be sure to ask the guide. That's our job. We want to make sure that the hike is right for you, and so our back and forth will help us to make that decision. Guides also may, in fact, will ask you questions, especially if you're a new hiker to that guide. We're trained to ask basic questions like, what is your hiking experience? What is your fitness level? And do you have any physical or medical situations that the guide should know about? All those answers are held in strictest confidence, but it helps the guide make sure that the hike is right for you. Try different guides. We have 30 what?
30.
30 guides right now in the club. We're lucky to have that many. And we're all different individuals. Every guide has a different style, a different pace, different interests. So over time, you will probably find 3 or 4 guides that you click with. So there's lots to choose from out there. Try different ones. So the final statement here is our goal is to match you to the hikes that are right, so that you enjoy those hikes safely. Mentioned the fitness walks. We offer these 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. They're about 1 hour long. They keep us a pretty fast pace. They go from 3 to 4 miles in that 1 hour. So they really are fitness walks. No advanced sign up is required, just show up. The start time in the winter is 7 o'clock. The newsletter, which I'll mention later, will have information about the start times as we get into summer. The start times will be earlier. And we start at the parking lot just west of the SaddleBrooke HOA 1 Fitness Center for the fitness walks. We have a rating system for our hikes that's based on a combination of the distance of the hike and the accumulated gain, the accumulated elevation gain of that hike. Our most difficult hikes are A hikes with 14 miles or greater distance and more than 3,000 feet of accumulated gain in the hike. Those are serious hikes. B hikes are from 8 to 14 miles in length, 1,500 to 3,000 vertical feet of accumulated gain. C hikes, 4 to 8 miles, 500 to 1,500 feet of accumulated gain. And our easiest hikes, our D hikes, are 4 miles or less and less than 500 feet of elevation gain accumulated. The pace will be indicated in the hike description, and normally the pace is listed as moderate. If it's different, it will say so. A moderate pace is 2 to 2.5 miles an hour of moving average. So a leisurely pace would be less than 1.5 miles an hour. A slow pace would be 1.5 to 2 miles an hour. A fast pace would be greater than 2.5 miles an hour. That's moving average. That's not the total average of the time that you're out on the hike, because that would be a lower number because you stop for breaks. Okay, the hike descriptions I mentioned, we try to put enough thought into those to give you adequate information to decide whether it's a hike that you're interested in. Why would you enjoy the hike? What will you see on the hike? Where the trailhead is, the route of the hike, the type of hike, difficulty rating, which is the A through D rating, any precautions or special conditions that might be involved in the hike, and hike data, the distance itself, the net elevation, the accumulated gain. This is an example of an actual hike in our database. If you were to see this hike on the calendar and click on it, it would come up with this hike description. The first part of it is the title of the hike, the rating, and the pace. The number 354 doesn't mean anything to you. That's just the number of that hike in our hike database. But the leave time is noted there at 9 a.m. And the driver donation, which is it's a mileage-based calculation. In this case, it's $2. So the body of the hike description then tells you where the hike goes, what you will be seeing, what is of interest on the hike. Then the hike data that I have here in blue, the hike is 5 miles in total. The trailhead elevation is 2,600 feet. The net elevation change is 789, and the accumulated gain is 830. The round trip distance, which is from SaddleBrooke to the trailhead and back, is 21 miles, and the guide's name and email are listed. We have many hikes in the database that are, let's say, a given rating, let's say a C hike. but there will be a modifier next to that letter C of triple asterisk. And that is there in case there are special conditions for that hike that make it more difficult than a hike of that normal distance and elevation gain. So things that would cause us to rate this hike as slightly more difficult are steep and or sustained climbing, loose rock, stream crossings, wading, boulder hopping, rock scrambling, exposure to heights or sheer drop-offs. These conditions, again, would make this a tougher hike than the hike distance and accumulated gain might indicate. And I say accumulated gain, we feel that that's a better descriptor of the difficulty than just the net gain. The accumulated gain is all of the ups added together that you do on that hike. So for instance, in this example, you start at 0 sea level, you hike to 1,000 feet and then back down to 400. Your net gain is 1,000 feet, but you've got all those ridges to climb during the hike, and that gives you an accumulated gain of 1,300, so more difficult than just the net gain. Okay, we have a wonderful newsletter that comes out every 2 months that contains lots of information about what's been going on in the club the last couple of months. It's available on the website. It has articles of recent club hikes and activities, articles on our annual volunteer recognition event, any special programs that are offered by the club, and we have programs every month for, 5 months? 5 months. We have programs at the Activity Center at HOA 1. And any tips and advice on, hiking, use of hiking poles or articles like that. It's available again in the SaddleBrooke Hiking Club website. Final thoughts. Again, read the hike description, especially if it has a triple asterisk next to the rating so that you know what's involved. Your hike enjoyment depends on whether the following are right for you. Is the hike rating within your capability? Is the pace comfortable for you? And are the trail conditions comfortable for you? Ask questions when signing up if you have any. Try different guides. Our main purpose here with hiking is hiking, not photography. We do offer some dog walks, some dog hikes, but mostly we're not going to stop for somebody to spend 15 minutes setting up a tripod to take a picture of a curb-billed thrasher or something like that. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ruth, and she's going to tell you what to wear.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Tim makes it sound really scary out there. We have some really, really nice, easy hikes. We even have downtown tours on the pavement. So don't let him scare you. Forewarned is forearmed, though. So yeah, what to wear. Hiking is not a fashionable outing. It's more practical than that. To give you an example, layering is primarily, well, it is really important most any time of year, but particularly this time of year, because we might start out very, very cold and end up sweating. As the sun crests the mountains, the clouds blow away. It can happen. All right, so I have a model today. This is one of our hiking guides. This is Margaret Villaire. And she is ready to go out on a chilly morning. So you'll see she has everything you need to start out. She has on warmer gloves. She has on her backpack. She has on a nice wide-brimmed hat, which she will probably keep on. That helps protect from the sun. And then she has a light layer. The light layer is, number one, it blocks the wind, and it is a layer. So as they add them together, they work like that. But the lightness of it allows you to roll it up and put it in your pack when you start getting hot. Okay, we've started to climb up some hills, and the sun's cresting the mountain. So then she gets her next light layer off. So the upper does really get layered. And then we continue to hike on. Now, she's really hiking hard now. We've hit some higher hills. It's starting to get 70 and sunny. Whew, boy, she is starting to lose some layers here. She may wear more layers than I would recommend, but she's very, theatrical. So then she's going to take that last thin layer off because it is warm outside. 70 degrees in this sun feels like 85 to me, I just have to say. And then she has a buff on. Now I want to mention one thing about the buff. A lot of times you'll see them called neck gaiters. So it's a stretchy piece of fabric that you wear around your neck. And in the winter, it kind of keeps your neck nice and toasty. But say you forgot to wear anything over your ears. My ears get really cold. So you can actually pull it up and cover your ears with it. So it becomes a little headband. Or when it hit, yeah, there she goes. When it hit 75 degrees and you're starting to really sweat, you take that buff off and take a little water and put it back on. Because then you have a nice wet cooling cloth around your neck. Now, pants-wise, I should probably look at my notes. Pants-wise, one of the things that's become very popular these days are hiking tights. And I have a couple of pair. They're very comfortable. I really like them. I don't wear them here. We have vegetation that will snag them if you get within 10 feet of the vegetation. There's one bush out there that we call the wait a minute bush because if you brush it, you're stopped. It's actually a cat claw. And just like cat claws, it'll grab your clothes and you're stuck until you can pull them out. So there's lots of different hiking clothes out there for pants. What I have on is a pair of zip-offs. And this particular pair, I just want to point out, has a zipper on the side, so you can then zip it off right here and get it off over your boot. Nobody likes to take their boots off out on the trail, particularly big boots. So that's just one kind of thing to look for if you're looking for hiking clothing. The shirts you want wicking shirts, something that will, like tech shirts, yeah, like the one she had on, and breathable shirts. Hiking shirts often have vents in them and can breathe really well. And you'll see people start shedding clothes within the first 15, 20 minutes of a hike. You can also, in the warmer months, you can wear capris. Ladies can wear capris. You can roll pants up, or you can wear shorts. That's all of a comfort level. Be sure you know where you're hiking when you wear something with exposed legs. If there's a lot of brush on the trail you're going, you may come home with a lot of little rivulets of blood or scratches. I sound like Tim now, don't I? The wide brim hat, the one thing I can mention about it, which hers doesn't have, but I recommend, see, I come from the cowboy world, a stampede string. It's the string that goes down around your chin, because nothing catches wind better than a wide brimmed hat. And if you can put the string under your chin, you won't lose your hat over, the edge of the Grand Canyon. The gloves that she showed you were warmer gloves. We have some hiking gloves down here. Hiking gloves are really nice. For one thing, they offer sun protection for the back of your hand, but they leave your fingers free, to tactile and also to use your phone. Not that you're supposed to use your phone on the trail, but unlike Tim, I do let people take a little quick cell phone picture. But the other thing I like about the hiking gloves is I use hiking poles every time I hike. and my hands will get sweaty if it's warm. And they have some little nubby things on the palm that keeps your hands from slipping on your hiking poles. So that's just another little benefit for that. Bandana, I always recommend we carry a bandana. You can use it to wipe off sweat. You can use it to wipe your nose. You can use it to, again, if you don't have a buff, you can use it to pour some water on if you get hot and put it around your neck. Yeah, so, okay. And we talked about layering. The one thing we didn't mention are sunglasses. I highly recommend you take some sunglasses. You know, you can slide them into a side pocket of your backpack if the sun's not over the mountain yet, or if it's partly cloudy. It just really, that sun comes out, you're gonna want your sunglasses. It's bright out there. Okay, footwear. So there's basically 2 or 3 different kinds of footwear. There are trail runners, which is what I have on. There are low hiking boots, which is what Margaret has on. And there's what we call mid hiking boots. Obviously, we just went from the least support to the most support. So depending on what you feel like you need on a trail, or depending on the trail, you would probably, if you're on a very rocky trail, you might want something with more ankle support. If you're used to wearing trail runners and you're comfortable with those, a lot of thru hikers use those because they're more like tennis shoes. But the biggest thing, if you go out to buy hiking shoes, they need to feel good in the store. Don't think you're gonna break them in. There's nothing worse than boots that don't feel good or fit. So gaiters, I have a picture of one. We both forgot our gaiters today to show you. Gaiters are something that just covers from just above your ankle, and it fits over your shoe. And gaiters are nice to have in our environment, 2 reasons. The first one is sand. If any of the trails you're on have any distance that they walk through sand, then what the gaiter does is it keeps sand from getting inside your shoes. That's not fun. And then we have a couple of hikes that spend a lot of time in a creek. Aravipa Canyon is our premier creek hike. And if you, even just crossing the creek, you will get sludge in your shoe if you don't have gaiters to keep it out. Your feet will still get wet, but you're not walking on sludge. Change of shoes. I have several hikers that will bring a change of shoes with them for the ride home. Certainly, if you're doing a hike where your feet are going to get wet, it's really a good idea to bring a pair of shoes for your ride home. And I would recommend you stick them in a grocery bag, a plastic one, so you can put your old dirty shoes in it before you put it in somebody else's trunk. But to bring a pair of comfortable shoes, particularly if you're a long way from the trailhead to get back to SaddleBrooke, or if you think your feet are going to get wet. One thing to know is that a guide can turn you away in the parking lot if you come dressed like those guys in the beginning. You show up with the improper footwear, or you're missing some integral things that we think are going to keep you comfortable and safe on the hike. We do reserve the right. I can't say I've ever turned anybody away, but if those guys showed up, I'd turn them away. All right, so these are some examples of what we take. And the boots we showed, those are gaiters kind of sticking up on the top of those boots. And the hiking gloves, the hat, hiking poles. Hiking poles make all the difference in the world. I will take my poles on every hike. If it is something flat and dirt, I might fold them up and stick them in the back of my pack, but 90% of the time, I've got my hiking poles. They make you move better, they make you move more comfortably, they make you move, less risk of a fall. It's very rocky in some of these places, and it's just nice to have that extra stability. It's like walking on 4 legs. So I highly recommend hiking poles. You don't have to buy the most expensive hiking poles out there. I know Costco sells a pair for like $40, and they work just as well. Okay, any questions about clothing at all? Okay, what's in your pack? First of all, what kind of pack do you need? Well, it depends on what hike you're going on. If you're going to be out all day on a hike, you're going to want something a little bigger to bring more gear, more clothing, or put clothing into, and maybe a little more food. If you're going on a D hike that's 4 miles or less, you can get by with something really small. Yeah, like this. But all of them need to be able to carry water. And when I send out my reminder email to my hikers prior to the hike, I never suggest bringing less than 1 liter of water. And usually it's 1.5 to 2 liters, depending on the length of the hike. But even for a 4-mile hike, 1 liter of water would be the minimum I would say to bring. So different kinds of, this is a bigger waist pack if you wanted to take more stuff. And the two we first showed are the kind that have a bladder that goes inside, can hold up to 2 liters of water, 3 if you're backpacking. And then you have a tubing you can suck on. That's my fave, because I don't have to stop to get water, okay? I can do it as I walk. And then my second fave is the bottle that has a tubing. These are a little bit harder to find now, but if you go online, you'll find them. Someone told me Summit had one. It might not, this is a Camelback, and I don't think Camelback makes this setup anymore, but they're out there. Again, it just allows you to drink while you're on the move. And in this environment, hydration is key. As a matter of fact, this bottle on the side, it says, hydrate or die. And that's, basically that could happen. Not on my hike, but it could. And this is what one of the little bladders looks like. There's different kinds. You can have them with a screw top like here. You can have them that have the whole opening is open. There's just a lot of different kinds. But those are the integral key components that you need to start is a backpack and water bottles. What's really hard for a hiker is if they have their backpack, and the way backpacks are built, the water bottle holder's kind of here, and then the water bottle stands up like here. So now you want to get a drink of water, you can't reach it. So you have to turn around to another hiker and say, can you hand me my water? So it's nice to be able to get your own water. Not imperative, but nice. So what else do you put in your pack? Well, if it's a longer hike, we'll say pack a lunch. And that can be a sandwich or something like that. Just what you would take for a lunch. Hand sanitizer to wash your hands off, the little bitty plastic things of hand sanitizer. Energy snacks like, trail mix. Something salty, because if you're sweating, you're losing electrolytes, so you want to replace some of those. So something salty, like Mr. Butler here, he is the king of peanut butter pretzels. He brings them on every hike, and he shares them to I think he shares them because he buys them by the gross. But they're protein with the peanut butter, and they're salty. And one suggestion is to freeze a sport drink like a Gatorade or Powerade, and then stick it in next to your sandwich if you're bringing a lunch. So you're going to bring something to snack on no matter what. Now some hikes, if they're super short and they don't have a good place to sit down, you may not do a official snack break or lunch break. You may, just have it. If you're only on like a 2-hour hike, you may not stop a whole lot. But what I recommend is putting something like the snack mix in your pocket. Something that you can, like do this while you walk. And a lot of people will do that on my hikes if they get hungry before it's lunchtime. They'll just pull out a bar, they'll pull out a snack mix, and they'll just kind of nosh as we walk. So Fluid is important. I talked about the water, but the other thing that's important is replacing some of the electrolytes you're losing. So you can take electrolyte solutions like Gatorade or Gatorade powder, Powerade. I like the Noon tablets, but there's lots of different kinds like this, and those I actually put in the Noon tablets I put in my water, and then the salt tabs and those are electrolyte chewables. I take those with me just in case I need them on the trail, and I pop one and chew it up if I'm sweating a lot. That's how I know I'm probably losing electrolytes, is I'm sweating a lot. The other thing we bring is energy. So GOO is a good energy. This is just carbs to give you some energy. Shot blocks, you'll see a lot of guides will offer people shot blocks. These are like big gummies. And they have some electrolytes in them, but primarily they are sugar. Some of them have caffeine. But they sort of kind of give you a little pick-me-up, which helps a lot. Don't forget your sunscreen and lip balm with sunscreen. Your lips will get very chapped. If you start out with warm gloves, you might want to put your hiking gloves in your pack. And it's a good idea to have one small baggie with some toilet paper in it that you can, if you need to use the toilet paper, then you can put it back in the baggie and pack it out. We use the Leave No Trace. And there's an example of somebody that's going on, a several-hour hike. They've got lunch. Now, the other thing that we put in our pack that we recommend our hikers do as well is a first aid kit. Some of the things that we like to see in a first aid kit are moleskin. And the moleskin, I recommend you get the one that is pre-cut, and it has like several different sizes on a sheet. So if you get a blister, that's what they're for. If you get a hot spot, which is the first thing you get before you get a blister, it's just a red area and you're starting to feel it. You take your shoe off and you put this over it, it protects it until you get home. But if it's pre-cut, then you don't have to worry about having to find a size that fits. Band-Aids, just a couple of different sizes of Band-Aids, and the one that I see the need for the most is the big ones, because when people trip and go down, they skin their knee, and that's nice to have as the large ones. Duct tape. Everybody goes, really? Duct tape? Well, if you have anything break on your pack, duct tape will take care of it till you get home. In shoes, and I did have a friend do this, she was so proud of herself. She said, oh yeah, I want to go hiking with you, and my shoes look great. They look brand new. Well, those brand new shoes had been in her closet for 10 years. And we get 3/4 of a mile down the trail, and the sole comes off of the top, and she's just flop, flop, flop. Duct tape. We did that whole hike, that 6-mile hike, after we duct taped her shoe back on. So duct tape's great to have, and you don't need a lot. You don't need a full, roll of duct tape. Just take a pencil or something cylindrical and just wrap some duct tape around it, stick it in your pack. Small knife is always a good thing to have for miscellaneous things. You would need it to cut the moleskin if you didn't get the pre-cut one. And tweezers, cactus, even if you brush against some cactus, you might get some of the spines in, and tweezers are pretty good about getting those out. If you get quite a few, the duct tape is also pretty good about getting the little ones out. So, just saying. A comb, and you'll see all the guides have a comb on their pack, an afro comb, because that's the best thing to get cholla out. And when we're looking at things, I lead a petroglyph hike, and we're walking in, and we don't really trim a lot because we're trying to protect the area where the petroglyphs are. There's some cholla, and people go, oh, get the comb, because then right here, they've got a whole thing of cholla right there. And that'll pop it right off. So that's kind of nice to have. Bring meds of your choice, maybe some ibuprofen or Aleve for aches if you start, getting some aches or pains on the trail. Antihistamine's nice to take, like Benadryl, especially if you experience allergies to any of the, desert ragweed or flora that we have. or insects. And if you have any, I'm sure anyone that does have cardiac issues knows to carry their aspirin with them. Any medication you might need, and this we actually have you fill out when you join the club and you go on your first hike. We will give you a luggage tag. It says SaddleBrooke Hiking Club, and you put your name on it. Well, inside it is a first aid, emergency contact, any major health issues we need to know about, and what medications. So that is one way a guide can help you on the trail, but the other way is to be sure to let your guide know, oh, I'm allergic to bee stings. The first thing they're going to say is, do you carry an EpiPen? Where is it in your pack? So those are the kind of things that your guide's going to want to know. Do you carry nitroglycerin? Where is it in your pack? Do you have asthma? Rescue inhaler. Where is it in your pack? So let your guide help you if you have a history of any medical problems. And I want to mention also, if you don't want to go to the trouble of putting together your own first aid kit, REI sells these. I don't know if Summit Hut has them, but I know REI does. It's adventure medical kits, and they come in all different sizes. So, they have tiny ones all the way up to, something you could probably do surgery with. So just look at those, and they pretty much have everything we've talked about in them. And then this is what I was talking about, the identification tag tells us things. Bring your cell phone, because you will see something you might want to take a picture of. I would always say, ask your guide, is it okay if I take a quick picture? I mean, Tim's right, don't set up a tripod. But if you've got this stunning view of, the mountains or beautiful flowers, sure. I think it's usually fine to take a picture, but always ask your guide. And bring the cash, usually correct change is appreciated, to give your driver for the donation once you get back to the Mountain View parking lot. Some of the optional things, disposable rain poncho, and we're talking the ones that are like $1. Because you know what, if you go on Tim's hike on Mount Lemon, where they didn't get back in time to beat the rain, he's gonna put a garbage bag over you. And if you have one of those, then you can actually look a little more stylish. So those are nice. And the reason I like those particularly well, a lot of people have rain covers for their pack. Well, that's great. But if I have a poncho, now I've got a rain cover for my head, my body, and my pack. So I keep, and those are very lightweight. So just the cheap poncho, one-time use type thing. Those are optional, but I would throw one in my pack. An inflatable seat cushion, I don't have an inflatable one, but I have one that folds up real easy, and it's the Thermacell stuff. Those are kind of nice to sit on if you're sitting on the ground or you're sitting on a hard rock, and they take up very little room and weigh nothing. So those are pretty cool, and then you don't have to blow them up. GPS, a lot of people like to use All Trails now. It's an app. And a desktop feature, a computer online feature, but it can track your hike if you want to know how far you went and kind of keep up with that. Headlamp, boy, I don't carry that, but if you go on one of Margaret's hikes, you might want to carry a headlamp because she does the 14+ miler ones. That's why she has one here. Things to think about the hike. First of all, before the hike, eat a good breakfast. Don't come to the hike hungry, because you're just going to get a lot hungrier very quickly. And thinking about also, you don't want to drink a lot of caffeine before you come. Caffeine is dehydrating. It'll kind of encourage the fluids out of your body that you want to keep in for now. So be sure to drink water before the hike, during the hike, and after the hike. Again, snacking on the trail is perfectly fine. Keep it close, so keep it in your pocket or somewhere you don't have to dig it out if you want to get your snack out. Let the guide or the person at the back of the hike is called the sweep, and we usually ask an experienced hiker to be our sweep. They kind of make sure the hikers aren't spreading out too much, and if anyone's struggling that the hike guide doesn't see, they'll let us know. Or if somebody needs to go to the bathroom. So let either the front person or the back person know you have to take a bathroom break, not a problem. And we want to point out, guides don't provide medical care, but we will adjust the hike, give suggestions for staying hydrated and nourished, and we will help provide basic first aid. All right, that concludes this portion of the talk about what to wear, what to bring, and kind of what to look for when you're buying it. I want to introduce Ken Wong. He is our vice president coming into his presidency in April. You want to hold it or you want to put it in?
Okay, thank you, Ruth. You've seen the exciting part of the presentation, and I can assure you I'm not going to be taking any of my clothes off while I'm speaking, okay? In terms of a recap, becoming a member is very easy. Just go to our website, follow the prompts, and you'll be led through the registration and payment process. I've told people that, our new website is very easy to navigate. If you can register to purchase things from Amazon and make purchases, you'll be very efficient on our website. So, once a member, you'll follow the 5 easy steps on this chart that take you from hike selection to returning back to SaddleBrooke after your hike. Not on this list, as you can see, is physical conditioning, which has been discussed before and should occur well before your hike. It was mentioned that we have the fitness walks, but depending on your level of experience, you may want to start out with our C and D hikes. But it's going to be up to you to assess your abilities. Let me talk about resources available to you that can help you prepare for hikes and also provide tools for you while you're on the hike. What you see is a list here of internet resources. All Trails is probably one of the most widely used in our club, and it has a database of worldwide hikes. Local hikes and Hikes Arizona are smaller in scope, either with just Tucson or the state of Arizona. Then Google Earth, I think most of you are very familiar with. This is the 3D representation of Earth from satellite imagery. And you can literally just focus on the roof of your house once you get into that app. Marana.com is a very interesting one. You're saying, what is that doing there? Well, that's the town of Marana's website. And on one of their pages titled Recreation, you can click on it and it leads you into hikes. And it gives you very good maps of trails in the Tortolitas. So we've listed 5 of the more well-known ones. There are just tons of them on the internet. And of course, the features vary. All Trails is one of the most popular apps and provides the following features and much more. Gives you access to a huge database, a worldwide one. In fact, I was on it yesterday and I was able to pick up a London area hike. Gives you detailed information about each trail, including maps, elevation profiles, and photos. It gives you the ability to track your progress while you're on the trail and also to save your favorite trails into memory. It also gives you the ability to read reviews from other users to get an idea of what to expect. And it also gives you the ability to share your favorite trails with friends. Now, we have a hike specifically focused on training and the use of All Trails. And our primary guide on that is none other than Ruth. In fact, are you the only one that, I thought you were the only guide that teaches All Trails, and you actually go on a hike and she teaches you how to use the app. Continuing with resources, The Desert View Library, which is right in this building, is one of 3 libraries on campus, as you well know. The others are in the SaddleBrooke Clubhouse and the Mountain View Clubhouse. It is the Desert View Library here is the only one of the 3 libraries that has hiking guides and travel guidebooks. And these can be borrowed for 28 days at a time. We're very fortunate that one of our long-term members, she joined in 2007, is Janet Fabio. She's the director of SaddleBrooke Community Libraries. She informs us of new publications that pertain to hiking, and we in turn can give our members a heads up when something new is in the library. In fact, I was in the library just yesterday talking to her, and she gave me a heads up on a book about hiking in the summer that we'll be sending a memo out to our members very shortly about. Right in this building, of course, are housed the 3 collections that our members would most be interested in. The Southwest Collection, the National Parks Collection, and the Travel Collection. These collections include hiking guides, information on plants, animals, geology, local history, and much more, in addition to a lot of guidebooks. You can use these materials for planning, research, and leisure reading. Another resource is mapping software. And again, in this day and age, there are many, many mapping software options available to hikers. We've listed 5 of the more commonly used ones. The first one is Garmin, and it's proprietary software for use on its handheld GPSs. In fact, yesterday, I was going to download their latest software into my GPS, and when I looked at the list of handhelds that the latest version of Basecamp software to work with, my darn GPS is too old. It dates back to 2008, so guess what? Garmin's got me if I want to buy it, so I'm going to have to spend $500 on one of their newer model GPSs. But really, it's very easy to use. You download their software onto your home computer or laptop, and of course, like everything else today, there's a free version, and there's a deluxe version that costs some money. You're going to view a map of the area you want to hike in, and you'll have to, again, pay for maps if they're not already in your GPS device. Then you plan your route or trip, mark any waypoints or tracks along the way. Then you transfer the route or trip to your mobile device. And on the day of your hike, you can bring up the route or trip and follow it. So these tools are very, very handy. Yes, as Tim says, it's much easier to go with a guide. But this is if you're hiking as the leader of a group, say not in the hiking club. Okay, for the diehards that say, okay, forget about all these electronic devices, you got to get back to basics. And I remember in survival training in the military, you're handed a paper map and a compass and a knife. That's it. Well, there are companies that still sell high quality, hard copy, and very durable recreational topographical maps. And this company is Green Trails Maps, and they've been around since 1973. They show the most current trail, road, and access information to national forests, national parks, state and local parks, and other public lands. And they can be purchased in stores like REI and Summit Hut. They are not cheap. I went online yesterday. They start at about $8, and some of the maps are in the high 20s. But they are very durable, and they are very good documentation for locales in this area. Okay, weather. That's something that our guides monitor closely prior to and during hikes, since safety, in addition to other factors such as egress in and out of trailheads, are all important considerations that can be affected by weather. We've listed 3 providers of weather information. All provide the basics you need to know in planning your hikes. Basically, it boils down to a matter of personal preference as to which you want to use, or some people just reference all 3 when they're about to go on a big hike. Let me switch gears now and talk to you about the club and our resources and some of our other activities. We want to let you know more about our club, and first I'd like to talk about our new website. We just launched our new Club Express website, and members are doing initial logins. The old one was a WordPress-based website, and now we're entering a new realm where the website has full features. The most significant feature for our members is going to be the ability to have online signups, and then also have the creation of a waiting list. It's a major departure from having to send emails to the guide. The guide has to send an email back acknowledging that, yes, you're on the hike, and then he sends reminders about the upcoming date. All of this is going to be automated with our new Club Express website. We've also brought over online credit card payments from our previous website, a feature we had before. And we're going to have a lot of new features. It's going to automate and integrate many functions that we've had to do manually in the past, such as membership administration and sending email blasts. So a lot of help for the people that do the behind-the-scenes work for our club. One of the major activities the club has is trips that we take off-site. We usually plan 2 trips per year. We have been restricting ourselves to locations in Arizona and surrounding states just to limit travel time. Each trip encompasses 3 days of guided hiking and oftentimes side trips to places of interest. Our October 2023 trip was to Santa Fe, and a side trip to Los Alamos was offered, which was extremely popular. The timing coincided with a showing of the movie Oppenheimer in theaters. We also have group dinners on the 2nd day of the trip. Like I said, the trips are very popular and they fill up very, very quickly. Okay. Hikes and trips are not all that we do. We have 6 programs per year, with the subjects ranging from outside guest speakers, such as Robert Steve, who's editor of Arizona Highways magazine, who was here just about a year ago, to presentations from our own members sharing their favorite hikes. We also have 2 picnics per year, one in the spring, one in the fall, and these are fun social events, but we do conduct some club business at the spring picnic. Another popular activity offered by our guides, and it was mentioned a little while ago, are 4 different downtown Tucson hikes. They cover the most beautiful and interesting murals by many talented artists. They cover historical buildings and points of interest. They cover the Barrio Viejo with homes dating back to the 1800s. And our most recent addition is a tour of the University of Arizona campus. And we usually tie in a lunch at a nice restaurant at the end of the walk. That's a must. Okay, as Tim said, we are pet friendly and we do allow dogs on selected hikes. I think the criteria is if, one, the locale and the trail allows it, and then it's at the guide's discretion.
They're listed as such.
The hikes are listed as such.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and the hikes are listed as such. They are dog friendly, so you don't have to question, is this a dog friendly hike? We also conduct workshops on the use of GPS in a hike, as I mentioned before, conducted by Ruth on how to use the All Trails application. There's also training on the use of our hiking poles. For our new guides, there's procedural and on-the-trail training, in addition to an annual first aid refresher course for all guides. Regarding the Arizona Trail Maintenance work sessions, one of our members, Ray Peel, is a trail steward for segment 13A, which is primarily in Oracle State Park. The segment runs from the American Flag Trailhead to Canale Wash, a distance of 4.3 miles. Work sessions are held in the cooler months 6 times per year. Tools and refreshments are provided. If you like yard work, this is definitely for you, okay? It steps up the level of work a bit. The Catalina Hills trash cleanup sessions are our commitment to the Pinal County Adopt a Highway program and their goal of keeping our state as litter-free as possible. We maintain a 2.2-mile segment of Catalina Hills Drive starting at SaddleBrooke Boulevard, right next to the guardhouse. We've been doing this since March 1st of 2007. Now, if you've seen people on the roadside wearing orange outfits doing this type of work and you've envied them, well, I'll tell you what, these roadside cleanups that we do is the thing to sign up for, so keep that in mind. Okay, finally, on a closing note, you see that our club does a lot more than conduct hikes, and it takes a lot of work to make it all happen. We currently have 80 roles within the club, encompassing board members, guides, and activity leaders. 54 members perform these 80 roles, and as you would deduce from the numbers, some perform double, triple, and in some cases, quadruple roles. As such, in appreciation for their commitment, we recognize all of our contributors each year at a volunteer recognition event. And no, the event is not Arizona Trail Maintenance or a Catalina Hills Drive cleanup. Okay, that ends my part of the presentation. I'll turn the podium back to Ruth, so feel free to ask any questions you may have. Also, if you're interested in joining our club, we have our membership coordinator and treasurer ready to help with your application. In fact, our treasurer, Arlene Daigle, is sitting at the very back of the room. So we would like to thank you very much for your attendance. We hope you gained some insights into what it takes to be a successful hiker and learned a little about our club. I'll turn it over to Ruth.
Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
I have a question about hiking boots. I've always worn leather type boots, and now I see that a whole bunch of them say that they're breathable, but they seem like they have the same inside. Are they actually more breathable than other ones?
Her question is about hiking boots, whether, if we're familiar with more of the old school leather boots, that the newer ones seem more breathable, and she's asking, are they? Yes, they are, but in the case of sand, it can get in some of the more breathable ones as well. They do make waterproof, lighter boots and shoes now, hiking shoes, that are lined with like Gore-Tex, that kind of keeps some of that stuff out, but they're not as cool. And if you're out on a hot day, the lighter weight, breathable does make a difference. Now, one thing I didn't mention that I should have was about the socks. When you're looking for hiking socks, we strongly recommend you get something with wool because it wicks the moisture away. And a merino wool blend is not a super heavy. If you're thinking wool socks that are super fat and heavy, but if you get a merino wool blend, that still does the same purpose, but not as heavily and not as warm. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for attending. I appreciate you coming.